Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're watching us from. Thank you so much for joining us today for our June Fireside Chat. I am so excited to have Professor Mamogeti Pakin, who is going to be our esteemed guest today. I have been talking to her for many, many, many months trying to get this arranged, and I am just so excited that we have been able to make this work. As busy as she is going back and forth all across the world, doing very, very important work, I'm very excited that she has made time to be with us. So she needs no introduction, but I would not be doing her justice if I didn't read her very esteemed bio to all of our guests here today. So Dr. Mamogeti Pakin is a renowned academic, boasting a wealth of experience spanning over 2 decades as an executive across various institutions of higher learning in South Africa. Most recently, she held the position of Vice Chancellor at the University of Cape Town, the top university on the African continent, before opting for early retirement in March 2024. She holds a doctorate degree in mathematics. I'm very eager for us to talk about that. From the University of Witwatersrand, and has been granted 2 honorary doctorates, a Doctor of Science from the University of Bristol in the United Kingdom, and a Doctor of Education from the University of Ottawa in Canada in 2022. Has significant contributions to research and community engagement, have garnered numerous accolades, including the Order of the Moab bestowed upon her by President of South Africa in April 2016. And she has also been recognized by CEO Magazine as the most influential female academic in Africa. Like, that is just amazing. She is also the inaugural recipient of the Africa Education Medal, a distinction presented by T4 Education and HP. In September 2023, she was awarded the Regional Lifetime Achievement Award, and in December 2023, she was also recognized by the same organization as the global winner of the same award based on her contributions and wide-reaching impact in the STEM field. Deputy Mother, as she is affectionately referred to by thousands and thousands of young people across Africa, is also a philanthropist with a strong passion for young people and education. In 2004, she founded the Adopt a Learner Foundation, and through her foundation, she is dedicated to providing financial and educational support to African students, specifically those coming from underprivileged areas, to enable them to pursue higher education and qualifications. Notably, and I found this just incredibly humbling, when assuming her role as Vice Chancellor in 2018, she declined her inaugural ceremony and opted to have those funds that were allocated to her inauguration to be dedicated to clearing outstanding debt for students who had not completed their studies between 2015 and 2017 due to financial constraints. Since then, she has donated 20% of her monthly salary and 100% of her proceeds from her speaking engagements to a scholarship foundation for disadvantaged students, particularly women, those who are interested in postgraduate studies at University of Cape Town. If that's not philanthropy, I don't know what is. Following her early retirement, she was appointed by the President of the Republic of South Africa to serve on the Presidential Advisory Council on National Orders, and currently serves on the board of the Geneva Science and Diplomacy Anticipator, excuse me. She chairs its Citizen Forum, and since stepping away from academia, she has embraced many roles which we're also very excited to talk about, including being a businesswoman with diverse interests in media, agriculture, and consulting. Outside her professional life, she is a mother, a sister, and a daughter with an extremely adventurous spirit that I can attest to. In July 22 in July 2023, she summited Mount Kilimanjaro in Tanzania, which is the highest mountain in Africa and the highest single freestanding mountain above sea level in the entire world at the age of 57. I told her I want to have as much energy when I'm 57 as she does. So welcome again, Professor Pakin. I am so delighted that you have joined us today. Thank you again. For our viewers, please let us know in the chat where you're watching us from. Let us know what you're most interested about learning from Professor Paken today. And we're going to have a very robust conversation and just go with the flow. So just to get us started, who is Professor Paken? Where was she born? How did she find herself doing all of this amazing work in the world? And we just want to get to know you. So who are you? Tell us, where do you come from? What
Good
motivates you
evening.
and all of that great stuff?
Good evening, Mercy, and good evening to everyone who's here in South Africa or anywhere in the south of Africa. And good morning, good afternoon, everyone else elsewhere in the world. Well, I was born in Eastwood, in which was a place in Pretoria. I'm saying was because it doesn't exist anymore. This is one of the places that where Black people used to live during apartheid, where Black people, as a result of the Group Areas Act, they were moved from Eastwood. So it doesn't exist anymore. Where Eastwood used to be, I'm told that it is now where the place Garsfontein, the suburb Garsfontein is. Black people, as people recall, the Group Areas Act was pronounced somewhere in the 50s and then enacted in the early 60s, and that people were refusing to move, particularly people who had land, who were landowners, and which was my grandfather from my mother's side was one of them. So the people who were refusing to moved actually at the end of 1966 or beginning of 1967. And so I was born in the end of 1966 in Eastwood at a Roman Catholic clinic. It's a very interesting story, Mercy, how I was born, because it's quite unusual. So I was born in a Roman Catholic clinic
Oh,
because they
wow.
were for Black people. It was a Sunday, I am told. And the 1st of November, which in the Catholic tradition, the 1st of November is All Saints Day. Of course, we are not Catholics at home, but why that becomes important is because it was All Saints Day. It was a Sunday. I was the only baby born on that day, and voila, I came in a sack, in a placenta. I'm one of those rare babies in the world who was born in a placenta. Right?
Wow.
Yes. So, and of course it was on a Sunday on All Saints Day and in a Roman Catholic clinic. So the nuns were very surprised. They had never had such a death before. And this was their first cow birth. A birth in a placenta, and so they were very excited. The miracle in their clinic. They apparently surrounded me and prayed and said
Wow.
to my mother that this is a very special baby and she's going to be okay, they said to my mother. My mother
Wow.
didn't tell me any of this until on my 40th birthday, which we never had birthdays at home, not a 21st birthday, normal, whatever. We never celebrated birthday in a big way. So when I turned 40, I was a professor, I was doing very well as an academic, and I thought, I want to celebrate this because, I've actually never celebrated my birthday. So I did a birthday party at my house, and my mother was first in line for giving speeches. And then I was telling this story of me being a special baby born in a sack. And I was like, wow, I sat there and thought, my mother always knew that I was going to be okay. And I thought,
Wow.
if she had told me at 15, maybe I would have relaxed a bit.
That is a
Because
good one. Yeah.
because I worked so hard and now I'm a professor, I've got a doctorate. And here she
Yes.
tells me she always knew that I was going to be okay. And then she
Wow.
tells the story of my birth. Um,
Mm,
so yeah, so my birth was quite miraculous. And I say it was a disruptive birth. It wasn't
mm,
my arrival in this world was not a silent arrival, was an
mm-hmm,
arrival that that shook the place where I arrived, that
mm-hmm,
it was the first to be seen, and made people wonder, and of course, a baby born in a second in an amniotic sac can die.
mm-hmm.
They've got to open the placenta quickly so that you
Right.
can sac that. So that's my birth, and then I grew up. Of course, Black people were then they moved from there and they moved to Garankuwa, which is a township in Pretoria.
Mm-hmm,
Some from Eastwood were moved to Mamelodi, Atteridgeville, or Garankuwa. My parents were in Garankuwa
mm-hmm,
because my maternal grandparents were also in Garankuwa. So my mom and dad got a place in Garankuwa. My dad came from a village called Marapiani, where I spent some of my early years at. In fact, that's
mm-hmm.
where I did my grade 1, my first year of
Okay.
schooling. I did it in the
Mm-hmm,
village of Marapiani, and we started under a tree because there was only one school in the village, and there were not enough classrooms, and so we did some of our learning in under a tree as grade 1s. So
mm.
yeah, it was quite an arrival. Many young people do not believe when I tell them I started school under a tree. And
Wow.
in the 12 years of schooling, I
Mm-hmm.
I went to 7 different schools. But that's what poverty,
Wow.
that was as a result of poverty, of
Mm-hmm.
state of our politics, as politics,
Yes.
and also just as things get better in the home, a little better because we're poor, but a little better in the
Mm-hmm.
context of poverty, then parents want you to move you there or there. My mom was a
Right.
domestic, my dad worked for a radio station, but they both didn't have metric. They never finished high school. My
Mm-hmm.
mother didn't even start high school. So in fact, she started high school when I went to grade 1. I'm one of
Mm.
3 children, and I'm the second one. I'm the
Yeah.
middle baby. I'm the middle baby, the eldest of the girls.
Mm.
So that's
So
me.
you, so that's you. So then you grow up in all of these diverse places, you switch schools and you go to different schools in 12 years, 7 different places in 12 years. How do you adapt as a young child to all of that movement and still maintain a core of who you are or some form of identity?
I think when you grow up poor, it's
Mhm.
you adapt or die. That's what it is. There's no thinking
Adapt or
about,
die.
yeah, that's what it is.
Right.
So my mother talks about me as the introvert at home, and many people do not believe it. And I
Mm-hmm.
think I probably learned very early that I've got to
Mm-hmm.
adapt because I never stayed more than 2 years in one school. The most I stayed in one school was two
Mm-hmm.
years.
Wow.
Otherwise, I stayed 1 year in a school. And
Mm-hmm.
so I always had to make new friends. I always was in a new environment. And
Mm-hmm.
so being thrown into the deep end to survive and get to find myself and stand out is
Right.
something that I've had to do all my young
Mm-hmm.
life. And so in my older life, I
Mm-hmm.
think I'm glad that I had that because it's almost like I got trained to be able to do
Mm-hmm.
that, even as an adult.
Yes.
Being thrown in a foreign or an unfamiliar place, I adapt very
Mm.
quickly, and I stand out
Yes.
very quickly. I found ways of stand out very quickly, or
Mm-hmm.
maybe it's God's blessing that
Yeah.
I blessed me with the personality of things that stand out
Mm-hmm.
quickly, and I can distinguish myself and get
Yeah.
on. So yeah, so it was just life. It's like you there's no other way. You've got to adapt. So I
Right.
never had to think about it, to learn how to do it. I only had time to do it, you know.
That's awesome. And so then it's time to go to university. How do
Yeah.
you decide your major and what you're going to do for the rest of your life? Or what
You
you
know,
thought you were going to do for the rest of your life?
I knew already, I think I was doing grade 10,
Mm-hmm.
and the winter holidays, and my parents suggested that I go, in fact, paid for me to go to a winter school
Mm-hmm.
in another school. My school was having a winter school for physics, and my
Yeah.
parents paid for me to go to a winter school where they were teaching mathematics. Um,
Mm.
and I went to that school. I wasn't too bad in mathematics, but I wasn't necessarily good at it. I was just okay, you know.
Yeah.
And I went to that winter school at grade 10. Just grade 10, yeah, standard 8, just grade 10. And first of all, I made good friends with very smart girls.
That's strategy number one.
That's strategy number one. And of course, exactly, and one of the girls, I had been wanting to meet her because her dad was our maths teacher at primary school,
Oh.
who
Mm-hmm.
used to punish me if I ever get a score below what she got, even though she was in a school. And her dad used to say, "You are smart. You got to get better than her. Look what she got." And so I had to compete with this person who I didn't know, right? And so she was at that winter schools. They lived in another
Yeah.
area. And so I got to
Mm-hmm.
be friends with them. But the most amazing at that winter school is the teacher. The
Mm-hmm.
teacher, Mr. Mokoni, who is still alive, was introducing us to geometry
Mm.
and to Euclidean geometry. And it's
Yeah.
just amazing how he did it. I mean, I am convinced that the teacher is key to whether the children love the subject or not.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Yeah.
what Mr. Mokoni did is that he introduced us to Euclidean geometry. I can still recall that he started
Mm.
by telling us what theorems are and what
Mm.
axioms are. He gave us an
Mm.
example of an axiom, an example of a theorem, and he told us axioms do not need to be proven, but theorems need to be proven. And how do you know that? He showed us
Mm.
the if part and the then part. And the then part is the part that needs to be proven. And so we went through Euclidean geometry, and I got it. I got it, what's given and what you're supposed to
Wow.
prove. How do you figure out how to prove? And then not only did he do that, he said to us, you see, mathematics
Mm-hmm.
is very easy. You can get 100%, he said to us. He said,
Yes.
because when you solve a problem, he said, for any mathematics problem, when you solve it, after you solved it, you have to be
Mm.
able to look at it and check whether it's correct or not. And he showed us how.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, it doesn't matter whether it's trigonometry, algebra, or whatever, you've got to
Right.
be, or geometry, you've got to be able to say whether it's correct or wrong. And so he showed us. And somehow it's almost like he was introducing me to mathematics, the big
Mm-hmm.
ideas, how do you
Yes.
figure out how the big idea works in different contexts. And I
Mm-hmm.
left the winter school not only with a good knowledge, understanding of geometry, but
Yes.
also a good understanding of mathematics and a great confidence in mathematics that
Mm-hmm.
you can actually get 100%. That
Mm.
that and he said, you're getting better, he said to us, if you can look at your solution and say, that doesn't look right.
Oh,
Or
wow.
he said, even if you don't know why it doesn't look right, if you can look at
Yes.
it and say, it looks a little bit too big. It shouldn't be more than this or less than, or
Yes.
look like that. It should look like that. He said,
Mm-hmm.
even if you don't know, if you get better at that, you should know that you're
Yeah.
getting better at it. So he sort of made me realize, made me believe that mathematics is doable, it's easy,
Mm-hmm.
and but the big idea, you know how to
Yes.
apply the big idea. And yeah, and from then on, I hung on to that. And so I
Mm-hmm.
got to matric already with this confidence in mathematics. My scores,
Yes.
my marks started improving,
Mm-hmm.
and I finished my matric with this confidence, already saying, I want to do mathematics. I don't know what to do
Yes.
with it. And of
Yes.
course, that was apartheid. That was during apartheid. So there were not many careers open to Black people, you know. There was a medical university that was open not far in my township, a medical university in South Africa, because I'm from Garankuwa. But the careers like actuarial science, engineering were not known. Statistics, it wasn't something that's known, you know. So I said, I want to be a teacher. You know, I said, I want to do mathematics. I want to major in mathematics. And I didn't know, they said, what are you going to do with it? I said, I'll teach. And so I went on to do a bachelor's degree majoring in mathematics, bachelor's degree in education, majoring in mathematics. And I'm glad that I went that route. Somehow I don't regret. Of course, I could have, if I were born later, I could have gone another mathematics, because then it's got opened. But I have no regrets really about how I went.
So tell me about your teaching. You sound like you had a great teacher who really inspired you, and now you are the teacher. How have you taken those concepts that your teacher taught you in how to actually be a good teacher, even if it was just by observation, to now doing what you did with your academic career, to the extent of all of Africa calling you deputy mother?
You know, Mercy, I love young people. I love young, and so my teaching, my engagement with young people is not just about transferring knowledge, you know. And when I talk about teaching, I always say teaching is not just about how much you know as a teacher. You know, a good teacher is also someone who's able to diagnose what the children do not know and probably why. So a good teacher is not just one who knows what's wrong and what's right, or who knows more mathematics. And I make a difference between a mathematics teacher and a mathematician. And I say, you know, a mathematician has to know mathematics for themselves. A mathematics teacher, and this is what makes teaching difficult, a mathematics teacher cannot know mathematics for themselves alone. That's not good enough. That's not good enough. They've got to know mathematics in such a way that they are able to listen to a child giving a solution and say to a child, ask more questions and be able to say, I think they got it wrong because of this, and ask more questions, sort of diagnose where the problem lies, why the child getting a problem wrong in this regard. Where are they going wrong and why? Not only where are they going wrong, but why? So they can't just say, no, don't do it this way, do it that way. That's not good enough. That's not good teaching. A good teacher has to say, oh, I can see that probably, they have to know how to ask different questions, and then that's diagnosis, just like a doctor would do when you get into their practice, right? And they have to be able, oh, I can see that this child doesn't understand fractions, and that's why they're not able to solve that algebraic equation. All right. And then they don't just focus on the algebraic equation. They can then sort out the fraction there, because if they know that if they sort that out, the problem of the algebraic equation will be sorted, right? And for me, that's a good teacher. And so for me, teaching is as important as that. It's like being a doctor. You diagnose where the children's errors come from. Not only do you know why, you also figure out how do you then solve that problem. And so I always talk about teaching is both a science and an art. You know, it's a science, it's also an art. When you come in, you shouldn't be a lullaby to students. You know, students should wish for your class. When is he
I've
coming?
had some of those teachers
No,
who are the lullabies.
There are teachers who are lullabies, you know, like they are lulling you to sleep. And I remember when I was teaching matrics in Randfontein, I mean, there's many students that I still meet today who are taught that I would say to them, they knew if there's no one, if the teacher their period doesn't show up, come and call me, I'll be there. And people used to get surprised. I'm the math teacher, but I'm the one that the students will come and fetch me in the staff room and say, the English teacher is not here, ma'am. Come and teach us, you know. And I'd be the one who says to them, of course, when you're at this level, they told you that a square root of negative number doesn't exist. And I would say to them, it does. If you want to know, catch me at 4 after school, and I will tell you where, how, and where. And the class will be full because they all want to know. And I'll tell them it's not syllabus, so you actually don't have to stay, but they would stay because, and I keep wondering, of course, some of them are staying for the artistic aspects of the teaching because I make it enjoyable. I make it enjoyable, and they want to be there. They want to be part of this fun class, this engaging class. Whether you know the answer or not, you get engaged.
Right. Exactly.
So I think that's important. For me, I feel passionate about teaching like that.
So how do you go now from that type of teaching to beginning to take academic positions that require some leadership, and what inspired you to go that route? And what are some of the challenges you faced in your, because you just don't get to vice chancellor in a day. There are multiple things that happen. So what's that trajectory been like for you, and what are some of the challenges you faced along the road?
I mean, you know, it's amazing. People don't know that, of course, I started as a teacher at a college. I've worked in farm schools. I've worked in NGOs. Then I decided to go into the academic sector. And in the academic sector, I literally walked every step. Started as a tutor, senior tutor, lecturer, senior lecturer, associate professor, professor. And so there was a time when I was a teacher educator. So I was teaching teachers, people who are going to be teachers. And then I became the founding director of the Marang Center for Mathematics and Science Education, where we did research and development. So we worked with schools in the township, in Gauteng province, and we had formal programs where we trained teachers, in-service teachers who were coming from matric, pre-service teachers. And then we ran programs for teachers who were not registered with the University of the Witwatersrand. And so I was the director, the founding director of that center. And and of course, that wasn't the beginning of my leadership journey. In fact, my first leadership position is that I think it was my second year of teaching. I mean, the first year was at a college of education. And then I got married, moved to the western part of Johannesburg, actually further Johannesburg, in a mining area, closer to a mining area. And it was a new school. It was a new school without buildings. And I was, I had just gotten married. It was this new area. I had not lived there. So people who new graduates and whatever were called to come for an interview. There were 7 of us. We went for an interview. In the afternoon, the district director called me and said, you know, you've been offered the position to teach in the school. I said, oh, yes, thank you. And then she said, oh, and the panel also decided you must be acting principal of the school.
Like, how do I go to just being hired to the acting principal?
Well, it was a new school. It was a new school. Everybody was just hired.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
So we went for an interview. We all were interviewed. So everyone had an equal chance to become acting principal because it was a new school, right? But they chose me the job of acting principal. And I was 23. I was 23.
Oh my God.
I might have been 22, I was 23, I think, 23. And everybody else was they were sort of my age. There were some who were older.
Yes.
Some were interviewed with me, they were older. And clearly, I must have said something or exhibited something in the interview that said to them, this one can do it, you know? And of course, I know that I'm a disciplinarian, I'm hardworking, and probably that comes through when people talk to me in an interview. So that was my first step. But the next time I take a leadership position, of course, I had become a subject advisor. You know, as a teacher, I was head of department. And then, boom, I became founding director of the Marang Center for Maths and Science Education at Wits University. And I was associate professor at that time, 2005, and I was there. So here I am, leading. We had raised funds, and there were chairs, the science education chair and the maths education chair, and I'm managing. And the first time in a university setting that I'm leading.
Wow.
And from then on, I started getting approaches from other universities. Universities started inviting me to be, and I remember going, being invited for an interview for a deputy vice chancellor position, from being director of that center to being deputy vice chancellor. And I remember them inviting me for a second interview at the Central University of Technology. And I said, no, I'm not going for the second interview because I need experience. So there was another University of South Africa was recruiting me. They were poaching me. They were also had approached me to be the dean of a faculty. So I chose rather to go there, to be the dean.
So let's put a pause on that, because you just said something that interests me so much. In this world of higher and higher and higher and see you at the top and all of these things, not many people are turning down positions, even positions that they know they're not ready to take on. So tell me where you got the courage to say no to a seemingly great opportunity, but you knew you were not ready for it.
And it's not the only time. I said that because I believe that you have to go every step. If there's important, you cannot buy experience.
Yes.
I felt that I cannot, from being director of a maths and science education center, focused on research and development, then jump to be deputy vice chancellor. Of course, that it's not a research intensive university, it's a small university, but I honestly believe in experience, and I wanted to build a strong career. And it's important, sometimes people just chase money, but I was never ever swayed by money. I always wanted to build a strong, sustainable career. And so
I like that.
I focused on walking the journey. And so anyone, even any criticism that anyone wants to put on me, they can never say I was parachuted or whatever, because I walked every step of the journey. Like there's no step that I jumped. So it was much easier. It was my own good, because actually when you jump steps and go to a higher position when you don't have experience, you actually oftentimes don't know what you're doing, because these jobs are not easy, Mercy.
They're not.
Even with experience, Mercy, they're not easy. So I didn't want to find myself in that situation. So I decided I better go be a dean, learn how to be a dean from there. And even whilst I was dean, by the second year as dean, I remember that people at the Tshwane University of Technology, labor union from the Tshwane University of Technology, approaching me saying, there's a post advertised. We need vice chancellor. And I said, nope. I can't jump to being vice chancellor. I'm still a dean. I want to continue being a dean, and then I'll be a deputy vice chancellor before then. And I'm glad I did that, because it's important to walk the journey. By the time I became vice chancellor, I actually had walked the journey as a scholar. I had become a rated scientist, not once, not twice, not 3 times. Every time I rated, I applied and got a new one. And I had become deputy vice chancellor in 2 different universities.
Wow.
I completed my term as deputy vice chancellor at the University of South Africa, and applied to the University of Cape Town and started my tenure as a deputy vice chancellor. And even when I applied to be vice chancellor, I was very reluctant. Of course, it was my second round of being deputy vice. Of course, there were political reasons that were making me not want to apply to be vice chancellor of the University of Cape Town at that time. But I ended up applying. That was 18 months of being deputy vice chancellor at the University of Cape Town. After being 5 years, I was deputy vice chancellor at the University of South Africa. And the reason I moved from the University of South Africa to the University of Cape Town was that at the University of South Africa, I was the founding vice principal for research and innovation. They had never had one before. I was the first.
Wow. Wow.
was not a research intensive university, it was a teaching intensive university. So my responsibility was to set up the
Yes.
portfolio, set it up, get it to work, and I did. And when I left up on my year number 5 in the middle of 2016, the University of South Africa had become the most improved, had won the award for the most improved research performance. And that was my work. That was my work.
Yay.
You know,
Like applause to that.
and I
Yes.
didn't want to take the second term as a deputy vice chancellor for research and innovation at the University of South Africa, because I wanted to be in a different university. I felt I started a portfolio in a teaching intensive university. I want to be in a research intensive university so that I get experience of two different contexts. A context where the research enterprise is not well developed, and a context where the research enterprise is well developed. So that's why I moved to the University of Cape Town, for a diversity of experience. I was quite happy to spend 5 years as a deputy vice chancellor for research and internationalization at the University of Cape Town. It was in the middle of protest. And so I was very reluctant to become vice chancellor at the University of Cape Town.
No, that is absolutely incredible that you did that and traveled through all of these different sectors and experience levels and different types of institutions. So leadership comes with challenges, and especially in academia, and at the top helms of academia, you find it's very male dominated. Tell me about some of the challenges that you faced, how you overcame those challenges, and how you still managed to maintain your presence, your strong presence in the academic world.
Leadership is very difficult. When you're a woman and you get into a leadership position, you come in, there's already what one author calls the authority gap.
Yes.
There's a gap. Because it's almost like, of course, as people know, there's a saying that says you have to work 3 times as a woman to be considered for a job that a man doesn't even qualify for, but would get,
Exactly.
So you come in with already, and the gap is that you come in already, people think you can't do it.
Yes.
And if you're a Black woman, Mercy, it's even worse, because there's a perception that Black people can lead. Now, you're not only Black, you're a woman, and there's a perception that women can lead. So it's a double whammy for you that you've got to deal with. So you almost have to prove yourself from the word go. And despite the fact that it's difficult for men anyway, for anyone.
For anybody.
For anybody, it's difficult. Now, for you, you've got a double whammy of challenges. And so I figured that, and this is the reason why I made sure that it's important that I get all the experience, that I don't jump steps, because I thought if I jump steps, I'll be introducing a third thing, because then they will say she doesn't even qualify. She's an affirmative action appointee. So
talk about that. I'm just like, I don't even know. Even when you're still qualified, they'll still call you an affirmative action.
Exactly. But in South Africa, we have a rating system. I went for that. It's voluntary, and I went for that. And and it expired. When my rating expired, I went again to improve it, and I continued doing research, even as a dean, even as a DVC, I did, because I wanted to make sure that when I became vice chancellor, I'm still rated as a scientist. But I knew that some people will say, I got it because I'm Black, I got it because I'm a woman, I got it because it's affirmative action. So I wanted to know that I've got the qualification, and I've got the experience, I've got whatever. And of course, as you say, whatever you do, whatever, they will still say that. And so I learned to speak for myself, that people would throw, and universities are different. The University of Cape Town was very, very brutal, because people would say in front of you that, oh, people don't qualify, they're just parachuted. And I would say, excuse me, let's see, who are we talking about here? All right. Okay. In case any of you didn't know, I'm a B1 rated scientist.
Yes.
And already that introduces me. And of course,
Yes.
many of
Mm.
them, white men included, wouldn't even have my rating as a scientist.
Wow. Wow.
And so they hated that. They hated that.
Mm-hmm.
That's for sure. They
Mm-hmm.
hated that. And so I shut that down. Like, please, if anybody has got doubts about anybody's
Yes.
qualification, you must let us know so that we get
Mm-hmm.
CVs and put on the table, and
Right.
and sort of we remove this barrier and get on with the work,
Mm-hmm.
because we've got a lot of work to do, you know. And of course,
Exactly.
sometimes, you know, in academia, there's also other hurdles, like how much
Mm-hmm.
money have you raised? How much money have you raised? You know, and I made sure I came in with that credential too,
Right.
because I didn't raise 30 million. I didn't only raise money for myself. I raised money
Yes.
not for my university, but for the sector in mathematics education.
Yes.
I
Mm.
raised more than 200 million rands for mathematics education in the country, you know.
Wow.
So I could say I raised this as a researcher, individual researcher. I raised this
Yes.
as director of center. I raised this
Mm-hmm.
as a dean. I raised this as a
Yes.
DVC. But I raised this as an academic, with academic citizenship, a good
Mm.
citizen of the academy, for the
Yes.
academy to thrive. And so I try. But here's the thing: it doesn't matter what you do, Mercy.
Mm-hmm.
Racists will remain racists.
That's true.
Patriarchy will remain patriarchy. That's what I've
Mm-hmm.
learned. You know, I say to young people, there was a time when I believed that there's a quotation that I read many years ago, it's from Jesse Jackson, that said, excellence is the best deterrent to racism. And I
Mm.
believed it for so long. And I
Yes.
chased
Mm-hmm.
excellence. And I made sure that I
Yes.
get everything. And I promise you, Mercy, in my career, I got everything. Everything.
Mm.
Promise you, the patriarchal people came onto me. The
Mm-hmm.
racists came onto me. You know, so it really,
Yes.
so at the end of the day, you've got to be confident in who you are. You've got to accept
Mm-hmm.
who you are. You've got to be ready to be who you are, irrespective of who says what. You know,
Yes.
that's who I am. And that's why when I became vice chancellor, I'd reached that position. And I felt, you know, an inauguration is not going to make me a better vice chancellor. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm who I am. I'm a Black woman. And we, Black African women, make sure that the
Yes.
children are taken care of before we take care of ourselves. We wouldn't use
Yes.
budget for a party when children have
Mm-hmm.
completed their studies and they are not able to
Yes.
graduate. You know, and
Oh, wow.
that's why I said I don't want an inauguration. I'll use the money to pay for the students who have completed their studies but are not able to graduate simply because they owe the university. You know,
That is
it's
just,
me owning who I am.
yes, I was just going to say that is just absolutely amazing because that may not even have crossed somebody else's mind. Like we see a lot of, but that speaks to the heart of who you are as a person and the things that matter to you.
Yeah, that's who I am. And you know, it's interesting because I didn't have to think about it twice. I just felt,
Mm-hmm.
what happens at inauguration? What did I
Yes.
miss? What did I
Mm-hmm.
miss? And of course, my boss was like, oh, we're not going to have donors. And I said, any donor should be
Mm-hmm.
pleased. Any donor worth their
Yes.
salt should be pleased that
Yes.
they're getting a vice chancellor who's doing
Mm-hmm.
this rather than
Yes.
having inauguration for themselves. And they said, no, but there's something to sign. The chancellor must put a gown on you. And I said, that's fine. The students that
Mm-hmm.
we bailed out will come
Yes.
and graduate. And when they graduate, I'll be the
Mm-hmm.
speaker. I'll
Mm-hmm.
be their guest speaker at their graduation ceremony. The chancellor should
Wow.
come. I will sign the book on that graduation day. So we're not going to have a special day. It will be during graduation season. That's when we're going
Mm.
to do it. It will be
Yeah.
one of the days of graduation, and I will sign the book. The chancellor will put the gown
Mm.
on me. And indeed, that happened. Gracia Machel came, put the gown on me. I signed the
Yeah.
book. And basically, what did I miss? I missed speeches by every constituency of the university telling me how fabulous I am. But hey, Mercy, I don't need speeches to tell me how fabulous I am. I know I am
You know
fabulous.
you are fabulous. Yes.
I know that
Yes.
already. So who needs speeches? So you get the union member, the students, the staff, academics, whatever. I
Yes.
said, I don't want any of those speeches. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I don't want any of those speeches. It shouldn't be about me. We're going to make it about the students who are graduating. And then I can also the crowd that's there can know that this is the decision that I made. This is who I am. This is the person that
Yes.
they're welcoming to this job.
Amazing, amazing. And so all of this requires a level of versatility and adaptability. Tell me how you've navigated change and what are some of the core values that help you navigate change and remain versatile in so many different environments where you have to be. Because I think that sometimes for people who are not in the academic setting, they don't even know how versatile you have to be a vice chancellor of a university as big as UCT. There's so many different facets involved in that. So tell me about your core values and how you remain adaptable and versatile through all of these different things that you do.
You know, I have to say, by the way, that versatility was so important when I took office, because I took office, Mercy, people forget. I don't know if you remember the years of 2016 to 2018. Those were the
Yes.
years of protests, not just protests, but shutdowns.
Yes, that's true.
UCT was a shutdown scene.
Mm.
My predecessor was calling the private security and police onto campus every
Yes.
day. We spent a
Wow.
lot of money on private
Mm.
security. So,
Mm.
it requires definitely being vice chancellor requires versatility. And unfortunately, nobody teaches you to be vice chancellor.
Yes.
In fact, there
Mm.
isn't a formula. There isn't one way to being vice
Mm.
chancellor. And so I told myself, I know that it
Mm.
needed you to be humble.
Mm-hmm.
So during protests, when students are angry, they're occupying the building, in Pico
Yes.
building, you can go in there. I went there.
Mm-hmm.
When all the executives are scared to go there,
Yes.
and I was still deputy vice chancellor at that time, and I said to my
Mm-hmm.
vice chancellor, I want to go, I'm new in the city, I want to go to the
Mm-hmm.
building that the students are occupying, because I
Wow.
want to educate myself
Yes.
about this campus. I want to
Mm-hmm.
know the students. And he said, no, 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 you can't go there. You know, what if you get abducted? And I said, who will abduct me? Like black students abduct me? Like what? Who? And I said, let's go. I'll send a message if I'm abducted. I've got an apple, whatever. I'll cope for a while until morning.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
But I knew that the worst that can happen, black students can never do that
Mm-hmm.
to a human being. These are African black children, black African children are raised in a particular way. They would never do that.
Mm-hmm.
Someone, because it doesn't matter how delinquent they are, they know that you're a mother.
Yes. They
You
know,
know,
absolutely.
absolutely.
Yes.
When push comes to shove, they know that you're a mother. So I went.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
I got there, and I'm small in body, and I just walked in. The room was full. I sat on the floor, folded my legs, and listened. And I didn't say
Mm.
anything. Help me understand, you know. And I did
Yes.
that for the whole week, and it helped me
Mm.
understand, you know, what the students are about, what's the
Mm-hmm.
battle about, and so on. And they didn't figure me out. I mean, I think on the third day there was a student who said, who I had, because we said, I think that's Prof. Paken, the new DVC, you know. So I
Mm-hmm.
think one of the things is humility, being willing to
Yes.
come down to the
Mm-hmm.
students, not someone who knows better, not as someone.
Yes.
I never went to students, to labor unions, as someone who know. I always went
Mm-hmm.
to say, I want to understand. Tell me what it is.
Right.
As vice chancellor, I did that. I want to understand. I want to listen. I want
Mm-hmm.
to hear what's the issue, and that helped me. And that's why the shutdown stopped when I took office,
Mm-hmm. Oh,
because
wow.
I was willing to listen. I also
Mm-hmm.
felt that one of the important things is to be authentic. You know,
Mm-hmm.
don't try to pretend. Don't try to be something
Mm-hmm.
you're not, because people can
Yes.
see through that. Be who
Yeah.
you are. You know, be who you are. I'm a people's person. I am on the ground person.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not the person who gets driven by a driver, whatever. So I said, I don't want a chauffeur. I don't want a driver. I don't want a bodyguard. I don't want security at my gate. I don't want any of that. I don't want a cook at
Mm.
my house. I
Yeah.
live in the vice chancellor, but I don't want a cook at my house.
Mm.
And so, and I even at the time, I even canceled
Mm.
flying business class, you
Mm.
know, because I checked that if I fly business class to the US, anywhere in US, in the US, it will cost me more than 100,000 rands. And that's like fees for the whole year of one student, for the whole year, not for a week, not for a month, for the whole year. And it just didn't work for me. My value system, it couldn't sit comfortably with me. That the overseas that I'm going to be having, they'll all be on us simply because I'm vice chancellor. And yet students can pay fees. So I said, absolutely not. I'm not flying business. And of course, because I'm not flying business, no deputy vice chancellor can fly business, no director can fly business, no dean can fly business. It's on their research fund, right?
That's
Do you
it.
think people were happy with me? That's why people were not happy. You know, because
you're sitting on their comforts.
Exactly. Because people come for the spoils. You know, some people accepted these jobs for the spoils, and here I am, it all up for them, right? And some people say, you are short, so you are comfortable in economy. I'm like, nobody's comfortable. Anybody, Mercy, will go for a soft life. For a soft life.
The soft life, we all want it.
Everybody wants it, you know? It's human nature. But I denied myself that because my value system did not agree with that. And as long as I'm leader of the university, that wasn't going to happen.
Yeah.
And so for me, it's those values, being authentic. Stick with the values that I knew that make me who I am as an African. And I know and I believe that those are the values that we needed to inculcate in our university. That our young people, it was time of financial stress. Students needed to know financial stress like this. We're not wasting money getting a cook for the vice chancellor or a driver for the business class for the vice chancellor or deputy vice chancellor. But they know that we are denying ourselves things so that we can have more money in our budget for student financial aid. You know? And some people would say, but students would be grateful. That's not the issue. Whether they're grateful or not, that's not the issue.
That's not the issue.
We've got to do what we know to be right, particularly as African leaders. We know as African leaders, this is suitable for our environment and we should do it. And so we went on with that. You know, I lived by those. And as you know, I gave 20% of my salary, monthly salary from the first month.
Wow.
After the last month, I gave that for student financial aid. You know, and I'm proud that I did that. I still have money at UCT. And we will be giving the scholarships again. We will be giving the scholarship to be doing selection again towards at the beginning of next year for students, women students, to pursue their postgraduate studies. And of course, unashamedly, preference to Black women. It's unashamedly, Mercy.
We have so many challenges.
Black African women you know that, Mercy. Black African women all over the world struggle to get funding for like wraparound funding. We give full funding. We'd rather give fewer students, but they've got to get everything. Must get not only for their fees, but for monthly stipend, for accommodation, so that they don't run around. Some of them have babies, some of them have families to look after. So they must focus on their studies. We don't want them to be running around trying to make a living. So that's and that's why we still have money in the Mamokgethi Phakeng scholarship. And you know, the interesting thing is that when I named the scholarship Mamokgethi Phakeng, some people in our class were like, why are you giving it?
I could just see the uproar with that. Why is she naming herself?
Exactly. They say she's narcissist. She's a narcissist. Why is she naming it after herself? I'm like, is Oppenheimer a narcissist? Why are you not worried that Harry Oppenheimer has got a scholarship in his name? Why does Rhodes has a scholarship in his name? Nobody calls them a narcissist.
Nobody says anything.
Nobody says anything. But when a Black woman, with her money, this is my money.
With her money, decide.
I did my proposals, right?
Yes.
and to support Black women. That's what they don't like, right?
Yes.
So, but you know, I am very secure in who I am.
Mm-hmm.
So I will go
Yeah.
ahead, even when they complain. I still went ahead.
Yeah.
You know.
That is an absolute amazing segue to talk about your foundation and all the wonderful things that you're doing. I know a lot of it is related to scholarships for postgraduate female students and all of that. But what else are you doing with your foundation?
I mean, the scholarships for women is not in the foundation. The money is at UCT because I donated it to UCT. The
Correct.
foundation is separate. A Dr. Lena Foundation is separate. I started it in 2004, 2003,
Yes.
2004. And that one I started when I found out that I was the first Black African woman to get a PhD in mathematics education. Then I thought,
Oh
wow,
my goodness.
I
Wow.
thought it's a responsibility. You know, when you
Yes.
accept anything, it's not
Mm-hmm.
something to boast about. It's a huge responsibility
Yes.
because for me, it says, are you going to be the last?
Yeah.
Are you going to be the one? You know? And
Mm.
I wanted to make sure that I'm not the last. I didn't
Yes.
want to remain the only. And so I started the
Mm.
foundation. And the foundation, Adopt a Learner Foundation. We fund young people who completed their
Mm.
matrics from rural or township schools, and they want to go into
Mm.
university. It start now. We've been funding them since 2004. They don't have to be coming to UCT. They don't even have to be going to university. We have funded
Mm.
students doing nursing. We funded
Yeah.
students going to university technology. We've had a lot of students at Vets University, at
Mm-hmm.
Tshwane Technology, at the nursing college. I think at
Yeah.
UCT, we supported one student.
Mm.
But yeah, those are the students, and many of them when we started, we were focusing on ones in mathematics and
Mm-hmm.
science, and
Wow.
proceeded, and there we were not focusing on women. It was boys and girls, male and female.
Mm-hmm.
Many of them went into, some of them are in data science, some of them went on
Mm-hmm.
to do PhD in mathematics, some of them were doing IT, you know, and as I
Wow.
said, some of them doing nursing. There's one who did food technology, there's one who did English writing, and they produced the
Mm-hmm.
book at graduation, which was amazing, you know,
Wow.
published. So yeah, so that in the scholarship, we fund
Mm-hmm.
a variety of students. And again, I don't raise funds. I don't write proposals.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, we as Black people need to put our money where our mouth is.
That's true.
Because if I believe in a cause, I've got to be
Mm-hmm.
I've got to be willing to
Mm-hmm.
donate or to work
Yes.
for it. Like when I give
Mm.
talks, for the money to go into it so that I can
Mm-hmm.
fund students.
Yeah.
Not to start a foundation and then write a proposal, submit it to white people to give me money.
Yeah.
And, you
Mm-hmm.
know, there's nothing wrong if you're going to get money from white people, but really
That
show
we
that it
have
is
enough
funded.
resources to be able to support these initiatives, and we have a lot of African people and Black people who have means to be able to make these types of projects work.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, you know, I've got beliefs about giving, you know,
Mm-hmm.
that you give to what you believe in. You give to what
Mm-hmm.
you believe. You don't give because you've got excess.
Exactly.
If you give out of your excess, that's not giving. That's throwing away. When you
Mm-hmm.
have excess, you throw
Yeah,
away. It's the stuff that you don't want. You give over to other people because you don't want.
exactly.
So when
Mm-hmm.
you give things that you love. Then I'm giving
Mm-hmm.
you. I love it, and it's painful to
Yeah.
part, but I'm giving you a
Yes.
piece of me. I'm giving you a piece
Mm-hmm.
of me. So
Right.
it's really it's me giving you, and for me
Yeah.
that's giving. So giving for me must bite a bit, and I'm comfortable to be
Mm-hmm.
uncomfortable when I
Yeah.
give. That I feel like, yeah, I could go and buy an Aston Martin with the money, but I'm
Mm-hmm.
gonna give it to girls to study.
Yes.
You know, that's fine for me.
Exactly.
I
Mm-hmm.
don't have to have another pair of shoes. Of course, I
Mm-hmm.
could buy me shoes, but I'm not going to buy them. I'm going to give them to women postgraduate studies students so
Yes.
that they can advance their careers. I'm denying myself something for something that I really believe in. And I think
Mm-hmm.
for me, that's giving, not that, oh, I don't need this 1 million, so I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
throw people who are suffering. You know, that's not
Yes.
giving.
So one of the things that also strikes me about you is you're very intentional about prioritizing your wellness.
Yes, yes.
So let's talk about that. I saw one video one time on, I think it was Facebook. I don't know how many push-ups he did. I was like, I cannot even do that many push-ups. So let's talk about your wellness journey, why you prioritize that, and why that is so important to you.
You know, whilst I was Vice Chancellor at UCT, I realized how easily one can slide into mental decay, like you can drown, you can basically die because the demands are so high on you. People don't care. People don't care about your wellness. And I realized that after, because you can't think that people are going to care for your wellness and they'll be saying, no, you can go, or no, people are going to keep demanding, blaming, asking, you know. And when you say you want something, they're like, so what are you paying you for? So I learned that in the period, because I really, that's the time when I went down into depression because of how things were. And I realized that I'm not myself. I've got to take care of myself. I matter. And I am all I have. And at that time, I was in suicide ideation. It was bad. It was bad. And, you know, have you ever imagined being in a very difficult situation? It's like you're carrying the whole world in your hand and you just want to die.
Yeah.
And you're surrounded by people. Some of who are saying, why? Some are saying, answer. I'm like, give me. Some are saying, die. You know, that's how I felt.
Yeah.
The many voices at UCT that I felt like, I'm caring so much. And nobody appreciates it. You know, nobody appreciates it. And so I went for counseling, and I got to a place where I realized I matter. And if I don't realize that, my children are going to miss me.
Nobody will do that for me.
Nobody will. Nobody will. And so I must realize that, and I must prioritize myself. And so I chose myself.
Yes.
And now I protect myself. I protect myself, my time. So I do hiking, I do yoga, I do crazy stuff, you know. I walk on the beach.
You summit Kilimanjaro at 57.
Exactly. And I went hiking in Botswana a few weeks ago, and I don't live from the beach now. I walk to the beach, and I can walk on anytime. So yeah, and when I'm in Joburg, I go. People in Johannesburg know the Westcliff stairs. When I'm spending a weekend in Johannesburg, I go up the Westcliff stairs, and I did that last 10 kilometers of going up and down the Westcliff stairs.
Oh wow!
Yeah, and I feel very proud of myself. And summiting Kilimanjaro is that just one of those things. When I decided to take early retirement, I decided I'm gonna start training for Kilimanjaro, and I started training for Kilimanjaro, and I was the oldest in the team that I was going to hike with. And I told myself, I am gonna summit at the highest summit, at Uhuru Summit. I'm not taking anything.
Wow.
And I promise you, Mercy, I had no altitude sickness.
Oh,
you know,
wow.
We're reacting from altitude. I had no vomit, no diarrhea, nothing. I was
you were good.
And to know that I actually struggle with motion sickness and so on. But I had nothing. And but it was tough. But what an important journey. It taught me so much. It taught me so much that, there are times when certain things matter, and you get to a certain time when nothing else matters. What matters is getting to the top is what matters. And that's the last 10Ks of summiting. Nothing else mattered. The only thing that mattered was getting to the top. At the beginning, as you start, and of course, you've got to go slow so that your body can rise and so on. You go through the whatever. And, you know, you worry about when you want to wee because there's no toilets everywhere. You got to go
Yes.
behind, and then you go behind the rock. And then as you go along, there's no tree, there's no big rock, there's nothing. Nothing matters. And then as you go up, it's so cold. And there's no tree, it's so cold, wearing double glass, 5 layers.
Yeah.
And I put everything on my face, shea butter, whatever. And I smile, and whilst we're talking, and I can feel my lips cracking. And one of the guys come with something on her fingers, and he puts on my lips, and I am so happy. And I go, I don't care. I don't care what it is. I don't even ask him what it is. I don't even care where his finger has been, Mercy. That's what it is. Like, what matters is I'm okay. My lips
Yes.
are cracking. He's helping me. I don't care whether his fingers are clean or not. The bottom line is my lips need to be waxed.
Yes.
And waxing my lips, that's all I need. You know, and I thought, you know, in life we care about things that don't matter.
So many things that don't matter.
Things that don't matter.
And we waste so much time with them.
Exactly. So I've learned that, you know, be who you are. There's so many things that don't matter. Focus, be on who. You're not breaking the law. You're not being unethical. You're not being immoral. Focus on the. Don't worry about little things. They're inconsequential.
The noises,
you know?
in the background, because there's so much noise in this world that we live in today.
Exactly. And as it is, it's inconsequential. Look, what has the finger done to my lips? I haven't died. It really doesn't matter. As I was saying, someone can say, well, it matters. Well, it doesn't matter. Look, many months down the line, I'm fine.
Yes,
you know?
exactly.
And we worry. I so wish our young people can get that a lot of little things, there's so much noise that we worry about. Things that don't, that they can just focus on things that matter. And don't worry about things that don't matter. People might laugh now, but it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
Exactly.
There's a summit to get to. Focus on the summit. Yeah.
I love that. And I really appreciate, as we wind down, I really appreciate your conversation about even acknowledging your own mental health struggles, because I think that in the African context, that is not something that we have been given permission to really acknowledge in terms of, I'm struggling, I need help. I love that you went to therapy and all of those things. And I think we need to normalize those types of conversations, because we have so many people who are drowning in silence and in suffering in silence.
Absolutely. It's almost like there's something wrong with you, but it happens to the best of us. And it's better to acknowledge and face it, deal with it.
Yeah.
And if you have to take treatment.
Yes.
And don't be ashamed. It's good for you. And some treatment, it's not a quick fix. It's like a manure. The treatment is like a manure. So you have to take it for a substantial period so that it helps you cope. And for me, it helped me. Anxiety, my depression, the period, and I could move on, you know.
Awesome. So I know you have a lot of lessons that you've learned in life throughout your entire life, your very amazing life. But if you were to leave our people, our audience, with just nuggets in life, what are some of those nuggets that you want to share in terms of your pearls of wisdom?
Well, I would say the first one is that one, that many things don't matter. Ignore the noise, focus on the big issues. And the second thing is, you know, build relationships. Relationships are important. I mean, one thing that has sustained me throughout is relationships, you know, that people I have known when have come through for me much later in life, you know, because I was there for them whenever, and they come through. And the other thing is that you're not the only one who is suffering. You know,
Mm.
there's a tendency for people to think that I'm the only one, I'm facing this,
Mm.
all the world is, you know, you've got to know that the challenges that you have are
Yes.
equal to your strength. The challenges,
Mm-hmm.
that whatever challenge you have is equal to your
Yes.
strength.
I
You
love
can,
that.
you can go through it. Never ever
Mm.
think you can't go through it. And
Mm.
then one lesson that I learned whilst I was vice chancellor,
Mm-hmm.
it's an important lesson that I share, is that, you know, if you want to succeed in life,
Mm-hmm.
have a high capacity for shame.
Mm. You
You
can
should,
say that again. Oh my
you should,
goodness.
you know, because if you do not have a high capacity for shame, you will
Mm-hmm.
never attempt anything bigger.
Mm.
Anything that was never attempted, you'll be scared to take
Yes.
a top position, you'll be scared to take a responsibility, because the
Mm-hmm.
possibility of failing is high.
Mm.
When you take a bigger
Wow.
risk, the possibility of failing is high. So you
Mm.
must have a high capacity for shame. If you
I'm
are
I'm
scared,
borrowing that. I'm moving with it.
move with it, sister. Move with it. If you don't have a high capacity for shame, you will
Mm-hmm.
always protect yourself from shame because you don't want to
Yeah.
feel shame. But shame,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
shame is a better thing to experience, because shame
Mm.
is not who you are. It's just
Yes.
accepting where you are,
Mm.
not who you are.
Wow.
It says,
Yeah.
shame just says, I made a mistake there.
Mm-hmm.
Shame doesn't say, I am the mistake.
Right.
It's not who you are. It's the fact
Mm.
that if you make a mistake and you go
Yes.
wrong, you're not that
Mm.
mistake. So you
Right.
are because you accept you're wrong, but
Mm-hmm.
you can move on and do better.
Mm.
You know,
Yes.
but if you don't have a capacity for shame, you will always protect yourself. You will always
Mm-hmm.
hide. You will always
Yeah.
go for the easier things. You won't go for the
Mm-hmm.
challenging jobs, the challenging
Mm-hmm.
task, the Kilimanjaro, because what if I don't summit? What
Yes.
am I going to say?
Wow.
I
Mm.
said I have to summit. What if I don't summit? You know,
Yes.
so you have to have capacity for shame. And
Mm.
that's why I say, for me, my motto is,
Mm-hmm.
I do hard things.
Mm.
And that's because I have a high capacity for shame. I'm not scared
Right.
to fail. If I
Mm-hmm.
fail, I'll take the shame, I'll
Yes.
put corrective measures, and I move on.
Mm.
I'm not going to disappear. I'm not going to go down underground. No, 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 no. I'm going to take
Yes.
it up, take up the challenge, own up, and move
Mm-hmm.
on.
I
So those
love
are
that.
the ones. Yeah.
Amazing, amazing, amazing. I just love this conversation and I wish we could go on and on and on. But I appreciate your time and I want to be very sensitive to your time commitment as well. So I really appreciate you coming and talking to us. To me, your whole life story is about the audacity to be authentic. And I think that that's what we named our chat today. Your authenticity sips through everything that you do and just how you're not ashamed. And that goes back to that shame thing that we were talking about, to be who you are, to carry yourself in a way that is comfortable for you. You don't have to be five different versions of you depending on where you are. And I appreciate that so much about you, because as a younger person who's going through all of these different leadership journeys, it's so easy to acquiesce and want to change who you are to fit a certain criteria or norm. And to have people like you who are unapologetically living their life the way that they want to and can still have impact, that is
Yeah.
just so encouraging for me. And I just wanted you to know that I really, really do appreciate your authenticity and just how audacious you are with who you are. So any parting
Mercy.
words for us before we let our audiences go for today?
Well, Mercy, thank you for inviting me. It's been a pleasure talking to you. You are inspiring too. I mean, young woman, you doing things for
Oh,
yourself. You from Africa, right there in
yes.
Texas, doing things. It's amazing. Thank you.
Mhm.
You know, people see us through you. People in
Yes.
Texas see
Mhm.
us.
Yes.
And
Yes.
and I'm glad that you're there representing us in the
Mhm.
way that you, of course, you're living your life. But unfortunately, as
Yes.
Black people, you never live for yourself. You live for all of us. So thank you
Yes.
for what you do. Go on doing
Mhm.
what you're doing. Whenever
Yes.
you meet challenge Mercy, know that you're equal to the task. And
Mm.
know that that's not the worst. That's
Yes.
not the worst. Uh, you've got all it takes to handle it,
Mhm.
and you do it. I speak to myself often. Hetty, you can do
Mhm.
that. You
Yeah.
can do it. There will be
Mhm.
any journey. There are supporters, there are detractors.
Yes.
Noise of the detractors should never blind our
Mhm.
ears, to make us not
Yes.
hear the support of
Mhm.
our advocates, because our advocates are
Mm.
there. So I wish you strength as you
Yes.
walk the journey,
Yes.
and I wish you truckloads of success and strength to
I
focus to not focus on the detractors, but to
yes.
hear the soft voice of your
Mhm.
supporters, your advocates, people who pray for
Yes.
you, who wish well for you.
Mhm.
So there you go, Mercy. My blessings to you.
Thank you so much for everybody watching now and even later. Thank you for joining us for our June fireside chat. We've had Professor Mamoketi Pakin, and I've just been absolutely blessed. So many comments in the chat, so many comments, summaries that I've been putting in the chat, and I'm so delighted. Thank you so much, everyone. We'll see you at our July fireside chat, which is scheduled for July 27th. And until next time, have a good weekend and enjoy the rest of your month of June. Bye, everybody.
Thank you. Bye-bye, everybody. Bye, Mercy. Bye,
Bye-bye. Thank
everyone.
you.
Bye, take care. Bye.